Hello and welcome to another My Aspie Marriage video. Today I wanted to talk about what I've learned about my husband from my Aspie son. So my son was diagnosed officially about 4 years ago, and the pediatrician, the last woman to diagnose him and work with him, and she specialises in diagnosing autistic individuals. She said something really interesting about meeting me and asking me a whole bunch of questions and saying something like, "He didn't get it from you then," sort of thing. Oh, it's an aeroplane. I thought it was a foghorn. And I thought that was really curious. She seemed to imply that it had to have come from one of the parents, which suggests that it's hereditary. So did he or does he only have it because it's hereditary? That's another video for another time. Back on topic, what I've learned from my son. Don't pile too much on top of him at any given time. When giving my son an instruction, it has to be one at a time. I can't say to him, "I need you to unstack the dishes and then put the main pots in this particular section, and then when you're done there I need you to fold the socks and then go out and do the dog poop," and blah 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 blah, whatever his chores are. I find that I need to give him one direction at a time. So I'll say to him, "I need you to unstack the dishes." He does that, then I give him the next one. I find that if I give him too many directions in one hit, he's quickly overwhelmed. I've learned to be frank and upfront. So my son and I will have conversations, and if something is said where one of us doesn't understand, we will straight up ask the other, "What did you mean by that statement? What are you referring to? Are you giving me an insult right now?" Like, we just ask really direct questions about a meaning of something that was said. And I find that's a really good way to avoid misunderstandings, because there's been a number of times where either of us have heard what the other said and we're like, "Oh, ouch, why would you say that?" And then we ask the question for clarification and realise that neither of us were insulting the other. It was just how it sort of came across or was perceived. So we like to be really frank and direct and ask straight up questions about meanings and intention. Don't talk over the top of them when they're talking. Or also, if my son is having a conversation, say with my husband, if I start talking over the top of them or start interrupting or start asking questions, my son gets overwhelmed, because it's suddenly gone from a him and him conversation to a three-way conversation where people will be saying all manner of bits and pieces, and he just gets overwhelmed. He's like, "Whoa, hang on, I can't hear you both when you're both talking to me at the same time and interrupting each other and not letting me finish." Another thing I've learned is it's all about tone. Sometimes my son will say something to me. For example, he said to me once, "Shut up, Mum." And I said to him straight up, "Don't talk to me like that. That's rude. Don't say that to me." And to me, I find there's no real nice way to say shut up. It's just one of those terms that's a little bit offensive. And he didn't seem to think that shut up mattered. And then a little while later he was talking, and I didn't really care whether he was talking or not. I just said, "Shut up," to him, just to see how he would react. And he looked as gutted as I was when he said it to me. And that's when I sort of said to him, "It hurts hearing that, doesn't it?" And he's like, yeah. So we watch what we say to each other, and also the tone that we say things to each other. Other times I might sound really gruff or abrupt or rude, and he might as well, and we'll say again, Was that meaning XYZ? And so we're slowly learning that being upfront and direct and using the right tone and asking the right questions matters. And another thing I've learned is to check if it's a good time. So I'll knock on his door and pop in and ask him a question. I'll just kind of stick my head in really. And he'll say if now is a good time or not. Can you chat? Yes, okay, we're having a conversation. And he'll come up to me and do the same thing. Because as mentioned in a previous video, I do wear my earmuffs a lot. So people will come up and check with me if now is a good time to have a conversation with me. And I like that my son and I respect those kind of boundaries with each other, because it's not always a good time. Sometimes you're right in the middle of something and now is not the time to be having a conversation. So we'll always check, is now a good time? And if it is, we'll have a conversation. Another thing I've learned is that my son requires wind down time. So he said to me a year or two ago, when I come home from school, don't ask me to do anything or talk to me or try to interact with me or anything for at least 20 minutes. He said, I want to go into my room and just relax for a while, and I'll come out and interact when I'm ready. No dramas, absolutely. I can understand that. He's had a big day, he's got all these things going on, he needs to come home, unpack his bag, unwind, relax a little bit, and then he'll usually just come out when he's ready. And there's usually not a lot I need to say to him directly after school anyway, aside from how was your day, which I don't do, I just wait, because he's asked me specifically to wait until he's ready to speak and interact. And so what I'm learning from him is that these are good things to do with my husband as well. If there's a job that I need him to do, I can say to him, hey, can you change that light bulb for me? Because I'm short, I can't reach anything. And everybody around me is tall, so bonus. And so he'll say yes, and he'll either drop what he's doing and do it then, or he'll do it a little bit later. And I might even say to him or my son, I'll ask for a specific time, or I'll give them a time limit in which I need it to be done. So I might say to my son, look, I need you to put the dishes away because I need to wash. And I need that to be done within the next hour or so at least. Or 10 minutes, depending on when I need something done. But I would generally give them time, and then they get to make that choice of when it suits them to do this particular thing that I have asked. And I'll ask my husband one thing at a time. So I won't say to him, oh look, I need you to change the light bulb, and also the oven's not working, and I need you to prune the lemon tree because I can't reach, and blah, 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 blah. I don't put a whole lot of things on him. I just ask him one thing at a time. My husband is good in the way that he will generally, in fact, he's got this A4 sheet, this folder that he carries around just about everywhere he goes. And he writes down anything that he needs to do and then ticks them off as they're done. So he's good like that. I can actually sort of give a list of, say, 3 things that I might need done over the course of a week, and my husband will cross them off as they need doing. But I generally won't come up to him and bombard him with a wall of words. I find that walls of words in particular overwhelm both my husband and my son. So I have to be quite strategic in how I speak and what I say. Short sentences work best. It's better that I don't elaborate and go into what my son calls a TED talk. Just going to keep it short and sweet. One final thing I've learned from my son is that my husband deserves love and understanding. It's very easy, maybe not the right word. I'll go with easy anyway, you'll get my point. It's very easy to sort of lead in with resentment and agitation and frustration. because you'll be having conversations and they're frustrating. Sometimes you get told, you didn't tell me this, when you know that you told them. Other times my husband will just pick random fights with me just to be argumentative. Then there's, you know, the odd offensive thing that may or may not be said, and his rude way of talking, or his meltdowns and shutdowns and blah 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 blah. All manner of things that are going on within the relationship that can just agitate me. And I can find myself getting to a moment where I'm thinking all manner of not very nice thoughts with regards to my husband. And obviously it's vice versa. He will feel this way towards me as well. It's a general thing that people will have with each other. People are going to annoy you at one point in time or another. And I did have a moment where I did feel a particular amount of resentment. And also, as I've mentioned before, I did have moments of finding myself thinking, dude, I don't like you very much. And I have to catch myself because I don't want to treat him with the emotions and thought processes that are coming up. I want to be respectful and nice. And my son is teaching me that he may be different, but he's still deserving of respect. He's still deserving of understanding. And above all else, he's deserving of love. It can be easy to say they don't deserve love because they don't show love. My son is not the warmest of my children because I have a number of children and he's the only one who's on the spectrum. So he may not be as, say, communicative or as affectionate or wanting to hang around me or do things with me or things that his siblings want to do. But that doesn't mean that he deserves any less of me than everybody else gets. So that's one thing that I've learned. And I think from seeing that my son is on the spectrum, from learning that he's on the spectrum, it has helped me interact with my husband in a sort of respectful and civil and understanding way. I go out of my way to try and be respectful to all people at all times, or at least as much as possible. But that's not to say that I'm always successful in that. There are definitely times where my emotions will get the better of me and I'll say something abruptly or a bit harsh or a bit rude or things like this. So definitely does happen. But having an understanding of the fact that my husband has a disability, I'm learning to be more sympathetic and to understand how hard it is being him. And okay, he's never going to be sort of, how hard is life for my wife? He's not necessarily going to be thinking that in return, but that doesn't really matter. It's not a situation where he can. So I just try to be very understanding about what it's like to be them, my husband and my son, and just accept them for who they are. And so they're the things that I've learned from my son, which help me then deal with interactions with my husband. And let me know, do you have a child on the spectrum? And what have you learned with regards to your relationship from that child who's on the spectrum? Has it helped you interact with your partner in any way? Leave a comment below, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you found it helpful and I really appreciate you being here.